You're on a march and you're told the purpose of it is the big banks got bailed out and they screwed over the working class. And these young people are like, wow, yeah, that's bad. Okay, now come chant Marxist slogans. But they don't tell you that. They just start chanting these things, get you to chant them. You have no idea what's going on. Once again, you can see it's the same old, same old.
Do you think it has anything maybe to do with, too, like the time that we live in, that everybody's so hyper online, people are so disconnected from like a community of feeling like they belong, and so maybe these like protests is like, oh, I get to like be around people and interact and like a sense of community, maybe? I don't know.
It's something to do.
I mean, people always, I mean, people are always going to want a sense of community. That's just part of who we are. And what we're seeing here and what you saw at Occupy, it's actually pretty normal historically. We look at the American Revolution or even something like the Russian Revolution, and you see those and you think, oh, well, I guess in Russia, everyone who was revolting just wanted communism, and in the American colonies, everyone revolting just wanted a constitutional democracy. But that's not true. People in both circumstances were revolting because they weren't happy with present circumstances. It just happened that like certain factions are more organized and we're able to use people's distaste with the current system for their own motivation, and for better or for worse, right? And there's a reason I use two different examples, and it's because sometimes it's really bad and sometimes it's really good. But the reality is, when a large group of people get together because they have a grievance, they almost never agree on a solution. And it tends to be a small, organized minority that proposes and implements a solution. Usually it's actually disastrous. But every once in a while in history, we have examples of the people who rise to the top actually having good ideas.
So what do you guys think happens with these protests? Like, you mentioned, we talked about this earlier, Columbia's semester's about to end. Theoretically, student populations actually dispersed from the campuses. They won't have the same critical mass that they do right now. Like, does this movement just sort of last through the summer, or is it going to be the next couple of weeks really intense and then go away?
Well, I think what did Columbia has given them an extended deadline saying they're allowed to stay.
Yeah, they were initially, they broke down part of the camp, and then they're sort of going back and forth negotiating.
Yeah, saying they're not going to call National Guard and they're not going to call NYPD to clear the Gaza camp.
And it's already been over a week. I mean, NYU basically built a border wall around one of the places that they had, that protesters had assembled. But again, like I said, these student populations are transient, typically. They're not on campus during the summer.
Are they all students too, or is it just like anybody that wants
It's a good question.
Yeah,
right?
that is a really
and if
good
they
question,
had a big
actually.
enough encampment, theoretically, more students could be like, yeah, my school's not doing anything. I'm out for the summer. I'm coming to your encampment over at UT Austin or whatever.
There was an interview on Fox where they asked some guy about what he thought. He was a Columbia student. He's like, I don't know enough about any of it to have an opinion. I just think it's wrong that they're arresting protesters. And it's like, there's the virtue signal. Even the people there who are like, I don't know what's going on. No, this is the student body. If you speak out against them, you have shunned yourself at this whole university on TV. So you don't do that. You don't. That being said, I don't see Columbia deciding to eliminate their customer base. If they it's not so much like, with Occupy Wall Street or BLM, you have protesters in an area with an autonomous zone or something. They have to make a decision about whether or not they want the political backlash, whether or not it's going to escalate the protests, who knows. These are Columbia's paying customers. So what do? Do you kick them out and then lose paying customers?